Okay, once you've downloaded and installed Java itself, the next thing you want to do is download and install some integrated development environment, or IDE, for Java. Now, it's perfectly possible to edit your Java code using some sort of smart text editor like Brief or TextPad or UltraEdit or VI or Emacs, but the large majority of Java developers use a real IDE for Java because these IDEs have so many Java-specific features. The three most popular IDEs for Java are Eclipse, NetBeans, and IntelliJ IDEA. Which of these is best is a matter of great debate and, in my opinion, is largely a matter of personal taste. However, empirically, Eclipse is the one that's most widely used, so that's the one that we'll use in this video series. So go to eclipse.org, click on Download, and most developers download the Enterprise Edition of Eclipse from the very beginning. Even though for now you'll be using the standard edition of Java only, eventually you'll probably be developing enterprise applications. And since the only harm in downloading the Enterprise Edition is a slightly bigger download, to save yourself from having to download the Eclipse a second time later, you might as well download the EE version of Eclipse from the very beginning. The Eclipse download is just one big zip file. You unzip it to any folder that you want. There's no installer. Once you've done that, you go to the folder where you unzipped the Eclipse distribution, and there'll be an executable in that folder, a .exe file if it's Windows or something else for other operating systems. You double-click that and it'll launch Eclipse. However, since most people use Eclipse so frequently, you can drag that exe file onto the desktop. Don't put a copy, but make a shortcut. And then if you double-click on the shortcut, it'll launch Eclipse. When Eclipse first comes up the very first time, it'll ask you where you want to store your code. You can make up any folder name that you want. And then again, only the very first time, you go to the top right corner and you click on Workbench. From here on, after it'll come up in the folder you chose and in the Workbench already. And it'll then show the list of your projects on the left-hand side. Now, when you first download Eclipse, you won't have any projects on the left-hand side. However, I want to point out that all of the projects that we will use in this entire video series are available for free download at coreserverless.com. In fact, in addition to the source code from all of the lectures, you can also get the source code for the solutions to the exercises that are available for you to practice with. And so one of these is Intro. So if you go to coreserverless.com, you click on the Java tutorial, you can download the Intro project, which is the source code for all of the examples I'll show in this video lesson right now. And now I have three questions. One is, if somebody gives you an Eclipse project with Java code in it, how can I run the Java code? That's question number one. Question number two is, how can I make my own Eclipse project? And question number three is, how can I put a Java class into an Eclipse project? So let's start with the first question. Given some Java code that someone else gave to you, how can I run it? So you go to the Intro project, you expand it, you go to the default package, we'll explain packages later, you expand it, you double-click hello world.java, and you notice that inside the class called hello world, there's a method called main. Java classes that have a main method are called Java applications, and only Java applications can you run from the command line. So if you want to run it from the command line, but let Eclipse do the work for you, you right-click inside the source code, run as Java application, it executes the main method, and it puts its output at the bottom of the Eclipse window in the tab that says console. You can also click this little green arrow at the top, and it has the same effect. So given that you already have a class that already has a main, right-click in the source code, run as Java application. You can also edit your existing code, of course, inside Eclipse. So if I wanted to change the word hello to the word hi, I could just change it there. And then when I hit Control-S or click on the little disk icon at the top, it both saves and compiles the file. So there's no separate compilation step. Whenever you save a file in Eclipse, it compiles it automatically. And then right-click, run as Java application, and you see the new output at the bottom. It's also perfectly possible to compile and run Java code from the command line. You don't do this very often, but occasionally. For example, when we get to network programming, we'll find that it might be a little more convenient to pass in command line arguments. So you'll do this once in a while, not very often. So if you want to compile and run from the command line, You find where you stored your Java code that was specified when you first launched Eclipse. You open a command window that goes there. The way to compile the file is you type javac and the full file name. So hello world.java. It compiles it and it builds hello world.class. And the way to run hello world.class, if it has a main method, as we saw before, is to type Java, not javac, hello world, but no extension, not .java, not .class, just hello world, and it runs it. Again, you don't compile and run manually very often, but occasionally you do this, and it's worth at least knowing that it's possible. Okay, so the first thing we covered in Eclipse was how do you run some Java code that somebody else gave you? It's already a class file. It already has a main method. The next question is how do you make your own project? And then the question after that is how do you put a class in it and run it? So to make your own project, you go to the File menu, you click on New, and you notice that it says Java Project is one of the choices. Eclipse remembers your previous options, and the very, very first time that you bring up Eclipse, you won't see Java Project listed as one of those choices. So the very first time you'll say New, you'll choose Project, and then you'll choose Java Project. But from there on after, you can just do File, New, Java Project. The name of your Eclipse project is mostly for your own reference. It just describes the kinds of Java files that you've grouped together in this project. So in this case, I'll just call it My First Project. The default settings are usually right. You want to make sure that it, for the JRE, the Java Runtime Environment, it says Java 8. It's slightly helpful to choose the top button for project layout so that the .java files, the source code, and the .class files, the compiled files, are in the same folder. But it's not that important. The important thing is that it says Java 8. So I say Finish. I go down to My First Project. And now I want to put a class in it. Eventually, we'll first make a package, a subfolder, and then we'll put a class in the package. But I want to describe what packages mean and what they're for before we do that. So for now, I'll just right-click, and I'll say New Class. I won't make a package first. We'll talk a lot more about Java naming conventions in upcoming lectures. But for now, the one thing to know about naming conventions is that Java classes should normally start with an uppercase letter. So I'll call it My First Class, uppercase M. All right, so it creates My First Class, and now I need to put a main method in it if I want to be able to run it from the command line. Now, I could go back to the intro project, bring up hello world.java, and copy that whole method declaration. But that's kind of long and complicated, so Eclipse gives you a shortcut. I can hit 2 spaces so that my code is indented properly. I can type the word main, and then I can hit Control Space, or it would be Apple Space if you're on a Mac. Normally, Control Space in Eclipse means auto-completion. You type part of a method name, part of a variable name, you hit Control Space, it completes it or shows you the options for completing it. But in the particular case of main, it's a built-in shortcut. So you type the word main, you hit Control Space, and it expands into the full definition of the main method that Java needs if you want to run a program from the command line. Now, there's lots of things we can put inside main, but right now we haven't covered any Java syntax, and so the only thing we really know about is a print statement. Again, you could go back to hello world.java and see or copy the specification for a print statement, but you do this so often that, again, Eclipse gives you a shortcut. You can type the word sysout, all in lowercase. That's not a real Java command. That's an Eclipse shortcut. You hit Control Space, and it expands into the full print statement definition. And I can say, hi, this is a test. When I hit Control S or click on the little floppy disk icon at the top, it both saves and compiles the file. And then I can right-click, Run As, Java Application, and again, you see the output in the Console tab at the bottom.